starting to regret that I stopped at this restaurant. I don't ever want to stick my arm out the window. Looks like he's coming our way. Hopefully we can scare him away.
What is it, third today or something? A little chilly out, foggy. Excuse me. Quick before I forget, another person who I have a lot of respect for, and I listen to her when I can, is Candace Owens. Candace Owens. She is a kick-ass woman, period. So, I know she's going after Black Lives Matter bullshit group right now with a vengeance, and she's exposing them for what they've actually really truly done, which is some pretty dirty shit. But it seems to be the common denominator these days is filthy dirty shit, right? So Candace Owens, if you haven't heard of her, look her up. Very respectful, tough, kick-ass chick who isn't afraid. I love people that aren't afraid. Now, what else? I watched a movie last night. Excuse me, I think it took me about, I don't know, probably the first 3.5 minutes, and I was on fire. On fire. Made a post about it on the YouTube community page. They took it down. Not gonna show up. Damn phones. Okay, can you read that? Read it. Now you go out of your way, and if you can, I know a lot of people are willing to donate an hour to this channel, hearing my annoying voice for an hour. And if you could, possibly right now. If you got an hour right now to listen to me, you got an hour to listen to this. Died suddenly. Look it up on Rumble. Died suddenly. All right? Watch it. And do whatever you can to share it with as many people as you can, okay? I know there's a lot of people out there. You know, I've met some characters over the years, especially when it came to my contracting life, past life in Whistler, where there is basically nothing but multi-gazillionaires and celebrities and shit. And dealing with those personalities, it's funny how often you would come across somebody who was clueless, but they had a shit piss pile of money and they had a real bad genetic trait in them which made them feel like they needed to control at all costs, even if they were wrong. And if they were wrong, they would spend as much money as they could to cover up the fact that they were wrong and be defiant no matter what, right? I don't know if it's going to make sense coming out of my mouth or what I'm envisioning. But anyway, what I'm getting at is there's going to be a pile of money, people out there who, although deep down they know they may have screwed up and done something stupid, they are going to put the blinders on, the head in a hole in the sand because they can't eat a little slice of humiliation pie. And they are going to stand behind what they did or succumb to no matter what, because they will not eat humiliation pie, a tiny little sliver of it. So what I'm saying is, it doesn't matter about yesterday. It doesn't matter about last year or the year before. It doesn't matter what you did, all right? We all learn. Nobody's perfect. We are all learning. And you have to screw up along the way. But a lot of people paid the heavy-duty price for screwing up. And if you would, please chop this video off right now. Go get on Rumble and find this 1 hour flick. And if you have anybody around you who has an hour to spare, watch it. All right, watch it. And that would be a very, very large thing to do. Okay? So one of my things I'm going to do this year is I'm going to see if I can, just how many people I can give the opportunity to watch this video and share it. That's about all I can say right here, right now. What's the answer to all this? I think one of the answers that came to my mind first was, or has been coming to my mind for a while after watching a lot of the shit that's going on, including, as an easy example, grown men dressing as female strippers, mimicking male-on-male sex acts in front of children, adolescent children. Stuff like that and more that's going on today, especially with mainstream news. I think one of the things that came to mind was a message to all of you ladies out there, all of our moms-to-bees, our women who are possibly the strongest of our species. Please start raising men. All right? It's going to be up to you. And of course the fathers, but you need to start raising men again. Okay? If you can't see it clear, if you can't see it yet, it's clear to me. It's been absolutely crystal clear to me for a while now. There is a movement, a global movement and they are doing dirty, filthy, disgusting things to the people. There's no way of not having to be faced with that fact. It's in our faces. But in the early days, the earlier stages, they were erasing the true natural protectors, which is males on average, because we are built larger and stronger and probably not quite as smart as a lot of women for the sole purpose of providing and protecting, right? I guess I'm trying to say this. I have absolute respect for women, and you're not less in any way. You're probably more of vicious protectors than men ever would be in some ways, but I can guarantee you one thing. You need to raise your boys to be men again. All right? And what that means is it's okay to fight, and you stand up, and you be honest, and you fight the bullies. You have to, not to be scared. You have to raise your children to not be scared, teach them how to fight. And I don't mean kicking the shit out of somebody physically, although that is helpful at times, but I mean they need to stand up and not be afraid to speak and stand up for what's right, and they need to fight back. But most of all, most importantly, they need to be taught the absolute truth of what is really truly going on in our lifetime right now. They need to be taught the truth and have it pointed out to them from a young age so they see it clearly, okay? If was there any way, God, if was there any way I could make that happen on a huge, large scale, I would. But you have to start raising your babies to be brave, strong, kick-ass, and not take any shit and right the wrongs. It's going to start with the children. They are attacking the children nonstop. It's no C theory. I hate those two words. They are bogus. They are fraudulent words. They have no place in our conversations today. But anyway, before I start babbling, because I've freshly almost done my second coffee, so it's one of those mornings. I'm getting pummeled with emails on the RH Blood, and I appreciate that. I'm putting them all in the folder, and I will have some not excess time. We'll have a little more time shortly to go over all the top of that, soak it in like a sponge, and figure out what's up, and then share whatever I believe needs to be shared, and I'm on it. This particular video that I shared with you today has been emailed to me I don't know how many times. And it needs to be shared, all right? It needs to be shared. Anyway, I'll bite my lip there so we can keep this group together on this channel, which is owned and ran by some very, very dark sons of bitches. Anybody who suppresses the voice of the people is a dark son of a bitch and needs to be dealt with in a very, very swift, maybe even brutal way. Who knows? Anyway, what do we got today? Right? It's going to be one of those mornings, is it? Hi, Steve. Okay, what's this title? This is titled No Further Along. And a lot of these are recent, all right, you guys? I went in the mailbox and I had a lot of replies to recent emails, so I went for recent emails this morning. I'm going to sneeze, maybe. Hi, Steve. Don't you really have to ask yourself just how much closer are you to having the governments in each country come clean about what these beasts are? It would appear there are hundreds of thousands of stories, even events that continue to this day, but still not one government coming clean about anything. Why don't you have all your viewers and listeners bombard the government with phone calls, emails, texts, or even standing outside their government buildings in their area with a protest for knowledge on one certain week, all week long, or as long as it takes. The feds will never say a word unless the pressure is put on them. They could care less about your channel and storytelling as it's not causing them any grief or problems. Pick a week, let everyone know what week. July 1st for Canada and July 4th for USA would be the week I'd choose to just fill the government's lines of communication with the same question. What the F are they? Or what the F do you know about them? The government could care less about your storytelling channel. A few years now, and you haven't got any closer to the truth or what they are and why are they. Happy New Year. It would be happier to get the truth. All right, there's quite the email for me to wake up and read first off this morning, right? All right, well, I guess I'll better address this one. First off, I don't know how long you've been here, or if you actually listen to what I say, and I'm not being confrontational, I'm not being a dick, I'm just going to reply in my fashion. First off, you don't really seriously think that I give a flying effing shit about what any government thinks? Really? Also, a message you might have missed before is, I don't know how many times I've said, as far as I'm concerned, all of the governments in a complete cluster together should be kicked to the curb. We don't need them. We don't need to. I'm going to slow myself down here. There isn't one word I need to hear from any government currently today. There's one sentence. I think the only sentence that I would possibly like to hear from people in government today is, please spare my life. That's about it. So, in case I don't think too many people are missing the message here, but to everybody out there, this channel is not about proof. It's not about getting somebody to stand up at a podium to tell the sheep what is or isn't. That's backwards thinking now. We are the people. This channel is about the people. The proof is in the numbers, right? Think about it. The proof is in the word from your brother and sister, your neighbor. Knowledge is shared by the people. Knowledge is learned by the people. There's nothing to be proved here. It's been proven a gazillion times over. The question to be is why? Why are we being lied to, right? Why are we being lied to? But That truth seems to be getting slapped in our face daily as well. Why we're being lied to from these filthy, sleazy, disgusting pricks that are in the current positions of power they are in. It is becoming, the truth, I think all the truths are slapping us, all the truth is slapped in our face daily, currently, right now. It's just the majority of people are oblivious. I think the bigger question is why? Why are we as a species so, I don't even know what words to use right now, complicit, dumb as hammers, pussies? I don't get it. Why are people not absolutely rising up and annihilating the people who are inflicting all of this discomfort and pain on us today? Why? Why not, right? Just the war, it's just the amount of killing going on the globe right now that does not make any sense at all. These monsters need to be stopped. But anyway, I'm going on a tangent. This is quite the ramble morning, isn't it? Anyway, just so for you, whoever you are that emailed that in, you're missing a lot of messages here, all right? You're missing a lot, unfortunately, and I'm the messenger to tell you. This isn't about there isn't anybody in the world that qualifies to dictate to us shit, first off. Okay? Remember that one. Unless, I mean, obviously there's a handful of people that need to look up like this, at these pricks, these other human beings, and say, could you please tell me what's up? Thank you. Right? Could you please tell me how I should think? Could you please tell me what I should believe or not? Thank you. Said no functioning brain ever. All right? I'm going to bite my lip. Obviously, I could really go on a ripper right now about that topic. I hope I'd answered that clearly, as clear as I could without going into an absolute frickin' rantaroo. Anyway, oh my gosh, yeah, this isn't the morning. This definitely wasn't the morning for someone to suggest to me that I need the government for anything, right? I don't need them for absolute. Okay. Moving along. Joe in Alaska reply. Steve, thanks for reading my email and so quickly. This is my response to your request for more information on January 3rd, 2023, concerning the coastal rainforest area that I had the creatures run past so fast, causing damage to the trees next to me. That'll be the footprint photo email. In the area I speak of, I have observed the following. Tree structures that couldn't be natural. The trees were large and well placed in a teepee position against another tree. Upside down trees near a river. The trees appear to be driven into the ground. Screaming and laughing of 40 to 50 of these creatures, always on the darkest of fall nights after the salmon fill the creeks. Areas that are very, very uncomfortable, meaning something inside you is screaming at you to get out of the area. My name is clearly called when no one is there. It's remote, meaning there isn't anyone around for miles. Strangely familiar and close to me. I completely ignore it. Perfect. Good reaction. Small pebbles bounced off my vehicle while I'm sleeping in it. I didn't feel threatened and went back to sleep. A native friend of mine took a young troubled native to one of the areas. Got dark and the screaming started. The young native man wanted to leave. He was so scared he was crying. It's no joke out there at times. Native friends tell me of strange lights in the skies over the Copper River. Native friends telling me of strange lights near Castle Island, Copper River, Alaska, that look like a pool of light, then gathers together and go up like a super bright spotlight beam into the sky and disappear. Reports of little people. 150 miles north is the Wrangell St. Elias National Park, a World Heritage Site where I have seen 2 Sasquatch people, one with a witness. That's all I can think of for now. The track I sent you probably was a bear. They are thick in the area. Take care. Joe in Alaska. Joe, absolutely appreciate you, man. Email us anytime with what you know, what you've learned. It's funny, I only looked at your photo on the phone right here when I made the call of the bear, and then when I looked at it on the bigger screen on the computer, it was like, it's hard to say, right? And there was no claw prints, but we all know that a black bear can at times have no claw prints at all. They could have been wiped out, who knows, whatever. But the toes and the curve, it looked exactly like a grizzly print to me at first, but I started to question my thoughts on it once I looked at the larger size picture on the computer. But either way, who knows, right? Doesn't really make a difference in the large run for what you know, Joe, and what I know, really, right? It's like, well, who gives a shit about a footprint? Obviously, there's footprints out there because these things are running around all over the frickin' place at times, right? Anyway, appreciate you coming back, man. Appreciate you coming back and sharing the follow-up. I love Alaska. Tell you what, I'd go there with you guys one day, maybe, if I had a chance. All right, here's a short one. Mark this as read. Vermont encounter. Hi, Steve. I just heard one of your latest Vermont encounters from the 40 years experience video, and it reminded me to send this out. I'm not sure if I had already sent it in, but I'm diligent about watching and haven't heard it yet. I'm enclosing screenshots of my conversation with my friend in Vermont. I have permission to share with you. Excuse me, I've also included the videos from that night. I know it may be difficult to read, and I apologize for that. Her name's Laura. I appreciate you and the How to Hunt family. Please send me your mailing address. Thank you, Tara from Maine. Okay, I think I don't have a video. I'll have to look, but here's the conversation, all right? So what happens is when I do get an email with photos, then I save them on my phone. I usually transfer them over and haven't done it yet, but I got them. So here's your conversation. So last night we went out riding by the radar base in Victory, and we got deep out in the middle of the absolute nowhere. There's tons of abandoned road systems from the Cold War built that were abandoned as soon as the war ended. We stopped by a sand pit area we'd been to before, and Nate wanted to shoot his new gun. We stand outside in the dark and silence for a while, smoke a joint. Probably 20 minutes goes by, then Nate fires off a few rounds. He stops and is reloading the gun, Rob to try, and we start hearing what sounds like dogs howling, but not quite. We're all listening, and then the sounds turn almost monkey-like how an ape would sound. There were at least 3 different animals making sounds at each other, and it sounded like nothing any of us ever heard before. We listened, and probably a minute before the sounds started getting louder and more aggressive, we got into the Jeeps and effing flew out of there. Oh, hold on. There's a thing blocking this. Damn it. We flew out of there and got a couple miles away from where this happened. I'll see if the next picture shows up. And stopped again to smoke and discuss. We were still deep in the woods. We were talking and dissecting what happened, and then watching what looks like a lightning bug, but moving in a perfectly straight line, flashing in a particular sequence. I then realized this, and that it's literally the only lightning bug I can see. Then it disappears past Rob's Jeep. 10 seconds later, we started hearing footsteps through the grass. So we dipped again. Then got several miles away and out of the woods. Stopped again at a pull-off so I could pee. And an owl swooped right down in front of the Jeep, then perched in a tree right next to us. He stayed in the tree and watched us and was still there when we left. Got a mile past the owl on the way out, and this happens. And then it cuts off. So that's all I got. I guess I'm gonna have to go in there and see what the video is about, right? And there you go. Another creepy frickin' experience with lights, the voices. There's a lot of people interested in those lights, what people call orbs. I wonder who the first person was that called a light an orb, right? It's a bright light to me. It's a ball of light to me. Anyway, thanks for sending that in. I hope I remember to hit that email again and find the videos. Excuse me. All right, what do we got? Possible pieces of the puzzle not often talked about. This is the place to do it. Greetings, Steve. Blessings to you and everyone. I appreciate what you are doing here. You've also read an email of mine, word for word, and I tell people this when appropriate. I know that was an eye-opener for me. Oh, itchy. I've since had many experiences in a short time frame. The main message I have from all of that is that they were of a benevolent nature, and the Roundtable of Knowledge helped with that tremendously, and especially some who have written in, such as the Owlman. After having many experiences, knowing the Sabe were nearby yet just out of sight, all mostly audible experiences, and a very basic form of interacting, not mind speak or anything like that, my personal feeling was that the Owl Man speaks the truth, and his knowledge is incredibly helpful. There was an immense display of courtesy and thoughtfulness from them. It was very tangible, that they had numerous months to take me out at any time they wished, as I was solo camping. I'm still here, and after some time I actually felt safe when I knew or sensed they were around. A lot happened, and I'm still processing much of it and learning how to live with this knowledge. It's something that most people don't believe in, such as family members who aren't even interested in hearing about it. It can be frustrating at times. I know how many understand that. I hope to share some of what I experienced and learned eventually in hopes to add to the roundtable of knowledge. I'm going to get straight to the point with some possible pieces of the puzzle, and everyone can take it or leave it. Someone who lives very close to you and loves your channel said the Sabe communicated to them and that they actually chose you for what you are doing here. Well, that's interesting. I've heard that a few times before. I personally believe they watch over you. Just my opinion, take it or leave it. Some say that the unknown being in their DNA is star people. I think you have lightly touched on that in some email shares and even perhaps hinted at having heard the same. About the terrible smell many report. One interactor with years of incredible interaction reported the smell suddenly appeared as the Sabe, which they befriended over numerous years, was suddenly emotional as unfriendly beings arrived, whom the Sabe had to confront. Side note, upon returning covered in blood and badly injured, the Sabe was mostly concerned with the interactor's dislocated shoulder. After hurriedly lifting the interactor into a treetop to hide before a very lengthy fight ensued. That's a little different, which the interactor overheard. This story about a man named Kevin and a Sabe named Glag is told through numerous hours and videos for anyone who wants to look it up. Kevin has since passed, may he rest in peace. There are sources, some also near you, who basically say the Sabe share the mission with you of desiring to free our planet from the controlling forces. Perhaps you have an incredible group behind you in your mission you may not have realized. The Sabe, though it's uncertain how this group may address it, perhaps not exactly the same as we humans would. What I've interpreted from messages passed on through people by them is that they may have a more peaceful approach to some things, as capable as they would appear to be towards the opposite. Numerous people have reported healings from the Sabe, incredible miraculous healings. Others also say the Sabe have saved their lives, and you've read some of those. It also appears the Sabe wish to help raise our consciousness, though many messages that have been said to be received from them. Though many messages that have been said to be received from them. Whether one believes that, perhaps it is worth at least looking into. It seems we could use all the help we can get in these crazy times. This is the message numerous experiencers and interactors have reported. This may not apply to every single Sabe, as they will often also point out, but it is a message received through numerous people. It seems a number of them begin with a similar experience to one email you just read in January 23, where the experiencer said the Sabe communicated through mind speak, suggesting a desire to communicate with some humans. Perhaps this may also shed some light into why some may not want this info out there. Also, perhaps they could be another true source to look into. I did proofread this, and I hope the grammar's okay. I'm not sure if I spelled proofread correctly. Oh well. Hopefully this adds some possible pieces to the puzzle. Namaste and blessings, M. Yeah, appreciate it. Well, you're not the first one to suggest that I've been chosen to do this. I don't know. Do I feel I've been chosen, or do I feel like there's any kind of outside force forcing me to do this? Not that I can tell. I still feel like the same prick I normally feel like. I am. Are they trying to communicate with us? I don't know. Maybe possibly some are. If they want to help us against the evil forces in the planet, I don't know. Sometimes when I watch the shit show going on, I wonder if they're just impatient, waiting for us to implode and erase ourselves again, which we have done. There's more than enough ample proof out there to prove that we have come and gone from this planet numerous times already. That evidence is in our face. It's just the majority of people got their head stuck in that hole in the ground, right? So that's what I'm thinking lately is I wonder if they are just impatient, waiting for us to hurry up with this repeating course that we're on, maybe, possibly. Because, why do I say that? Well, it's probably because if these are intelligent beings as they appear to be, and they actually cared about us and wanted to help erase the evil pricks, they could probably do it in a day, right? With the skills they have, if they were really truly caring about the majority of the people running around the planet getting absolutely hammered on by a small group of evil pricks, they could probably take care of that problem in probably a couple hours, right? I'm guessing. But anyway, thanks for that email. You got a lot of people thinking, right? Well, I got a lot of people thinking. Now, who's next? I gotta get my butt moving because I got a bunch of shit I gotta do. I gotta move a shit pile of hay. We're gonna clean up a bunch of crap, get ready to get going on my next adventure. All right, here we go. This is a long one. All right, let's do it. Long one it is. Second email, this one about Dogman. Hi Steve, this is Angie. I wrote to you in 2021, you shared it. Excuse me, Angie. And you shared it February 25th, 2022. A mother shares teaching her children the truth about the forest. Excuse me. That mom was me. We have lots more experiences since I last wrote. No more actual sightings of Sabe, at least not full-on views anyway. We've had pebbles landing near us while we work in the garden. Rock clacking sounds, bird calls, and so on. Lots of little things like that. One afternoon while we were all working in the garden this spring, I heard the very loud telltale, "Who cooks for you?" barred owl call from about 10 feet away in a little copse of trees. I immediately imitated the call right back, because that's what I do. I'm a birder. All my family stopped what they were doing and looked at me like I was crazy. Quote, "Mom, why are you making owl noises in the middle of the afternoon?" Sorry, just got a text that went right on top where I was reading. "Mom, why are you making owl noises in the middle of the afternoon?" No one but me heard that unnaturally loud call. Yeah, that's odd, right? That's an odd thing that a lot of people point out to us. Midsummer, my son, daughter, and I were out in the yard, and suddenly my son stopped cold in his tracks, wide-eyed. "Do you hear that?" he whispered. All my daughter and I heard was normal farm/forest sounds. He heard what he described as a woman screaming for her life in the forest behind us. He also had loud grunting, growling, breathing sounds right by his ear when there is no one there. He's been gifted. A turkey feather from the sky. It just fell from a clear, bird-free sky right to him. We've seen large dark things moving in the field in the dark. My son has seen large amber eyes towering over the corn, looking at him and his father walking the dog after dark. We've all seen what I guess is best described as disembodied large hairy legs slipping into the trees. I've had this happen to me about 5 times this past year, and it's really odd. It's like the legs are standing next to some trees, and when I notice it, it moves behind the trees. But where it was, I should have been able to see the rest of it. So I don't know really what to make of that. I've seen black, brownish/red, and gray colored legs, and every time my dog was with me and saw them too, he went bounding towards them and then stopped suddenly, head cocked to the side every time. He doesn't seem scared or upset by this, just curious. He'll run toward the rock clacking sounds too, and then does the same thing, where he cocks his head and steps after a few feet of where the sound was. We've never had the house slapped, but we've had pebbles and sticks thrown on our roof after dark. Needless to say, with all the activity, we've gotten used to it, and it's become the norm, as odd as that may sound. When we're in the forest, especially the areas where all the stick structures are, I just say, usually in my head, but sometimes aloud, something like, "Hello, forest people, we mean you no harm, please don't scare us, we're just here too," and explain what we're up to, and that we mean them no harm or bother. we've had no problems. We have lots of animals on the farm, including pets, that we've had no issues with them harming or stealing, and we've had no issues with them harming or stealing them. All this sounds quite benign, right? And it is really, considering what horrifying experiences other people have. I've always thought we are lucky and must have the nicer types around us. This summer, the activity kicked up a notch, and I'm hoping I can get some feedback from some of the round table on it. The first truly odd thing happened one early summer morning. My daughter had been feeding/watering a sheep out in a pasture. Just to the west of their pasture is an old orchard that parallels the dirt road to our property. Along the front of this orchard is thickly grown together trees and autumn olive shrubs, forming a natural barrier between our property and the road. In that thicket, my daughter heard what she described as teeth-clacking sounds. She said it sounded like the noise that woodchucks make with their teeth when they're upset, but like a 2-ton woodchuck. So I decided to go out and see what that was all about. My son, my daughter, and myself walked up to the area she heard it come from and listened for a while. We heard and saw nothing unusual, but there was this like electrical current feeling in the air, is best way I can describe it. Like you could feel the energy. I started noticing a weird sensation in my chest area, like I had to gulp in air to breathe and my heart was pounding harder. I was trying to breathe deeper, calmer, trying to overcome this weird sensation when I noticed like a touch. I guess this is the best way to describe it. A strong electrical touch that went up the back of my spine, to the back of my head and above it. You know how on the chakra charts, how there is one above your head? The best way I can describe it is I actually felt that energetic touch up above my head, like a pressure. My kids were fine. They weren't experiencing anything other than noticing the energy in the air. I wasn't scared really, not at first. I was just marveling that I could suddenly feel this touch above my head as if it was my body myself. I began to wonder if I should be trusting this though. My kids were with me. What if something took over me or something? I don't know what happens to the people who lose time, but I didn't want to be one of them, so I moved my kids away. It took a while for the sensations to stop and for my breathing to feel normalized. There was no mind speak and nothing else happened to me. When I went back up there the next day, that electrical feeling in the air was gone, and none of us have ever heard that sound that my daughter did again. When I think back on it, I am again not afraid. I was just feeling cautious because I didn't really know where that was leading and needed to be careful for my children. That's just you and your sixth sense, what I now call common sense, kicked in and you went with it. I think, anyway. The next very odd thing that happened to me was later that summer. I was driving my daughter and I back from a trip to town, and we passed by that same area where the thicket is, and suddenly I was no longer seeing the road. Instead, I was seeing the fence along our property line just up ahead where the road meets the driveway. On the other side of that fence, a large black figure stood up. I'll describe him more later. Then suddenly I could see the road ahead of me again, and I pulled into the drive and stopped, shaking. The vision only lasted 3 to 4 seconds maybe, but I was shaken that it happened while I was frickin' driving. I've never had anything like this happen to me before, ever. Something clearly put an image into my head and I could no longer see with my own eyes. I was freaking out. My daughter was confused, asking me what was going on. Here we were, parked right next to where the vision had shown me, and of course there was no creature on the other side of the fence. At least not that I could see anyway. Now I'll describe what I saw. The fence is about 4.5 feet high and come up to about the navel area on this guy. I call it a he as I saw no breasts. He had a very long torso, and I would guess he was about 8 feet tall. He was all black and hairy, except there were a few places where the hair was thinner, and you could see the dark tannish colored skin under it. Predominantly at the belly and around the muzzle. It had a small muzzle like a short-nosed dog, and the tannish skin could be seen to the other side of the muzzle, under the eyes. He had pointed ears on the side of his head, not on the top. They were short ears, not abnormally long, but came to a distinct point. That is one creepy frickin' description, isn't it? Like on a Doberman. He was very large at the shoulder and was quite thin at the waist by comparison. He had muscled arms and they were very long. As he rose up, he had them bent at his side before holding them slack. When they were bent, I could see the long black raccoon-looking hands that looked sharp like talons. He just stood there. He made no movement, didn't snarl or anything, just stood, just looked relaxed. I wasn't sure what I had been shown, honestly. It didn't look like any Bigfoot description I've ever seen or heard. I wasn't really scared by the contents of the vision because whatever it wasn't acting mean, aggressive, or violent. I was more terrified by the concept that something could project a vision into my head like that, especially while I was driving. As I did some research trying to figure out what this was, the closest thing I could find is what they call a Type 3 Dogman. No one in my family's seen this thing since, nor has any of us had a vision inserted into our minds, to our knowledge anyway. It messes with you to think that something could insert whatever they want into your head and you don't see with your own eyes anymore. Yeah, do you think? That's quite very alarming. In the fall, my children were heading up the driveway to the mailbox, so near the same area as my vision, and my daughter had an encounter. She felt like something was behind them. So she turned to look, thinking maybe our dog was following them. She screamed and collided into my son, who was bewildered by her behavior. She said she saw a 6-foot-tall wolf man a few feet behind them on a path following them. She said it was all black, about 6 feet tall, and looked like a black wolf walking on his back legs with a massive wolf-like head. Long pointed ears on the top of the head. She said as she was turning, she saw it taking a step, then froze in that position. When she was fully turned around and it completely disappeared. It stopped dead in its track with one leg forward. She said its arms were the weirdest thing. It had them both out and facing them. The left one closer to the body, bent at the elbow, and the other nearly fully extended towards them, but the hands were just dangling limp. She described them as large, long, and raccoon-like, and what looked like sharp claws on the end. It didn't have the hands out like it was trying to get them or anything, nor did it have any kind of snarl or angry composure. She said it was more like it was just playfully following them and seemed surprised that she was seeing it. She said it just vanished before her eyes, like it had never been there, and my son saw nothing besides his terrified sister. We were all weirded out by this, and stricter precautions have been put in place, but no one else has seen or experienced this. Crazy dog over there. Sorry. What I can only call a dogman since. The last time I wrote in was because I was hoping to help other parents out there with ideas for ways to approach the topic with their own kids. Now I'm writing in because I'm hoping some members of the round table may have knowledge about the dogmen that might help us. I honestly don't know how to feel about it. It is a scary being to see, and no one likes the thought of this thing creeping up on their kids. But at the same time, they've done nothing to harm us or the animals, and clearly have abilities similar to the Sabe. So I guess what I'm hoping is Owlman or the Arizona 4 might be able to get some answers. What are dogmen? Owlman says they don't get along with Sabe, but as I've researched since this has happened, there are other people that report both species on or near their property, or even have seen them together. Was it the dogman projecting that image into my head, or was it a Sabe, perhaps issuing a warning? Do we need to be warned about them? So many questions, you know. Oh, I know. I guess I should also share that I come from a line of gifted people, usually women. This is something that carries along my mother's line. Strong empathetic abilities, seeing/hearing/feeling spirits, precognitive dreams, seeing auras/energy, and so on. Like you mentioned before, we as humans have been cut off from these gifts or abilities, yet 110% we have. Intentionally, 110% intentionally. Some members of my family self-medicate to deal. Some get pulled down in depression and fear. No one in my line, for the last few generations anyway, has ever tried to strengthen these, learn about, or use them, including myself. It's terrifying as a child to see spirits roaming in the dark. It's horrifying to have a dream that your grandma will die, only to have it happen a couple weeks later. It's crushing to see energy surrounding all life and to be studied and tested and told it's all in your head. So I spent most of my life pushing this way and denying it a foothold in my life. Then I had kids who have abilities of their own, going through their own scary experiences in the dark at night, and I had to woman up, so to speak. I've had to drive down the spiritual rabbit hole and make peace with myself because I have to teach my kids how to do the same. We live life differently from most. We grow and raise much of our own food organically and chemically free. I'm homeschooled. While most kids are on TikTok or taking selfies, While most kids are on TikTok or taking selfies, my kids are pulling lambs, tending the garden, meditating, doing Qigong, or reading about energy healing. I'm telling you this because both Owens and Arizona 4 have discussed on some level that there are people they are connected with who have gifts and are able to communicate with these beings. I can't help but wonder if this is on the horizon for us as well. In fact, could putting an image in my mind be considered a form of mind speak? If I'm getting mind speak from a Dogman, should I be concerned about that? There's very little info to be had on these beings other than people seeing them and being terrified. Just gonna keep an eye on the dog. She's chewing on shit over here. Sorry. Many people, I'm sure, are shaking their head at me and wondering why that is even a question. Don't even worry about them for a second. Of course I should be terrified, right? Of course I should be doing everything I can to lock down my kids, my farm, my life, and repel it, all in the name of Jesus Christ. But here's the thing. These last few years I've learned so much, not only because of what we've gone through spiritually or what we've gone through with the cryptids, but what has been happening in the world as well. It has taught me to not fear. And I work on teaching that to my children as well. I tell my kids we all have to be strong and stand in our truth. Stand strong in our sovereignty. Whether you're facing a government official, a doctor with a needle, or a cryptid. We are God, spark / divine energy / creator energy, whatever the belief system, and that is power and truth and strength until we give that power over. Then we live like a slave, life dominated by fear. I feel like for me, this is the lesson of the times, the lesson in my experiences. Stand strong, have an open mind, do not be fearful, but rather smart and cautious, so we aren't upset when we see or hear signs of the Sabe. We aren't even that upset by our experiences with the Dogman because so far, we haven't seen any aggression or negativity from them. But I would like to know more about them and be able to better help my children navigate these Dogman experiences. Who better to tell us about them than those with Sabe connections? I'll have taken up more than enough of your time, Steve. Thanks again for so much of the platform you provide to everyone as the knowledge you share. As a fellow busy homesteader, I understand what it must take to do so. Your special soul, thanks to anyone who might write in with knowledge on the Dogman, Angie. Angie, what an absolute valuable email that was we received from you today. I absolutely appreciate the time you took to send that in, and especially that you're reaching out and asking questions, right? Ask the questions, protect the children, teach them the truth. Homeschool and natural, good, healthy food, I think, is key. Man, it's cold this morning. I'm sure the Arizona 4 are one of them. And the Owens, somebody's going to chime in. Guaranteed somebody's going to have answers for you. Without a doubt, they're going to send them in. And, yeah. Thanks again for sending that in. And please send more. And if somebody gives you answers outside of this platform, mail me back and share them with us, all right? Because there's going to be a lot of people out there with the same questions who do not really feel motivated to write in publicly about it, what they're experiencing, right? Now, quick mention too, I'm going to mention that movie again that I watched last night on the Rumble channel that I sincerely hope all of you are going to dig up and listen to. One thing to take note of, one of the hardest parts for me of that film I watched last evening was all of the people dropping dead caught on video. That was so hard for me to watch. It killed me. Healthy people, all walks of life, just dropping dead on, unfortunately, caught on video, CCTV screens, whatever it is, right? But one thing I did notice, and which you should all notice too, is we noticed last night was almost all of the people caught on video dropping dead suddenly all reached up with the hand and looked up into the sky and were spiraling. They spiraled in a circle with their arm in the air looking around with one arm raised up, spinning as they died, right? And one thing they all had in common was one of these. It's very hard to watch that part, but everybody, I feel everybody in the world needs to watch this program, this video. It's very, very, very important. Hard to take, but usually the truth is, right? And then another thing too, maybe I was thinking last night, you know, we got the we don't have any television shows on, but we don't have any television connected up. No mainstream news is ever watched by me. It's never watched in the home. But sometimes bedtime we'll look for a movie, some mindless entertainment to watch on Netflix, and you're sifting through the videos. And one thing I have noticed over a handful of years is that you got to think about the main theme topics that are delivered to us through movies, through mindless entertainment, but it always seems to be the same shit, right? You know, a good cop or a retired cop has a family member kidnapped, or drug dealers, or serial killers. You know, it always seems to be the same. That's not, you know, there's a lot more topics than that, but it seems like it's always the same overdone topics come up in movies. Why is that? Because I'll tell you what, since we've been doing this, there is a shit pile more of topics that could be portrayed in movies that aren't. Very rarely. Take a look at that. I hope I'm making sense right now. So like I said before, sometimes my thoughts don't mesh up with my mouth. But I have noticed for quite some time now, it's always the same theme, the same simple ass repeated themes in movies are delivered to us nonstop. Why is that? Kind of odd, isn't it? And then if you start to study that, I guess it might make some sense as to the recipe they use to F us up. Anyway, I might have been doing a little bit too much babbling today, but I'm quite certain after you all watch that video, you're going to be doing some babbling thinking too. And I hope that after you watch that video on the Rumble channel, that you don't just watch it. Wow, holy shit, that's crazy, eh? And then go back to doing the exact same thing you've been doing for years the next day. I don't know how I could motivate people to share that video with as many people as they can, no matter what your stance is, no matter how many of these you may have received. It doesn't matter, all right? Just share it. It's funny too, you know, you start thinking about why all of the people who are supposedly put in positions to protect us don't stand up and do something. You know, our military, our police, why don't they rise up and say, that's it? And, you know, it's funny, I know of a large handful of people in both military, police. Let's take some of the military people I know personally. And they cannot talk about shit. They don't talk about shit. They don't talk near their phones. But when I do have them alone, you would not believe how many people here in Canada in the military cannot stand the grease ball who has been placed in that position called leader. But when you think about it, when you try to picture, like I am always frustrated at why our law enforcement, why our military does not right the wrongs and protect the people like we have been led to believe they're supposed to be doing, which they do on a small scale, but on a large scale, they're not doing it. And so I try to picture being in that position. Imagine being in the military and trying to figure out who you could talk to, who is as well in the military to point some shit out. That'd be a real tough thing to do, wouldn't it? Right? It'd be a tough thing to do. Anyway, my brain's reeling. I got so much shit on the go and probably not making sense this morning. I'm being a little bit of an annoying prick today, but anyway, I'm going to close on this one. Don't forget, Candace Owens is another person who I would trust with my life, and I believe she needs support from everyone. She's a good one. and also to watch this video, I feel is absolutely important, and this needs to be shared. And I'm going to hold it up here one more time. I hope you can see that because I can't see shit on the camera. Got it? I'll curve it in case there's some reflections and you can't see it. You need to watch that video. All right? I'm not going to tell you what you need to think of the video, but I'm going to be able to sleep better tonight knowing that I did the right thing. At least I did it. At least I got it out there and I shared it with as many people as I could, right? At least I did the right thing. And then it's up to you to take from it what you will or leave it, or whether or not you should pass it on, right? But at least you had the choice to watch that or not, where places like this platform and others, you don't have that choice. That choice for you to watch what you may be curious about has been stripped from you. Like you don't count, like you're just a frickin' a head of cattle in the pen. And that's how they look at you. Here we all have the choice to see, listen to, and to speak and say whatever the F we want. We got the choice, right? Because we are the people. Now, time to go. Stuff to do. I'll be back. Don't forget to watch that video and share it.